Video games continue to get more and more ambitious in size and scope every year, and this year has been no different. We've been treated to a variety of worlds in games over the past several months, and many of them have impressed us with their sheer size. In this feature, we'll be talking about some of the biggest video game worlds of 2019. The Division 2. The Division 2 moved away from the wintry urban apocalypse of Manhattan to the sun-drenched streets of Washington, D.C., and it proved to be an excellent change in scenery. The Division 2's world is large, diverse, and impeccably designed, full of interesting things to do and sights to see, and brimming with the same level of detail that its predecessor displayed so proudly as well. Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Ghost Recon Breakpoint has a lot of issues, and taken as a whole, it's not a very good game. But as far as the size of its world is concerned, it does deserve recognition. The Aurora Archipelago is absolutely massive, the way Ubisoft open-world games so often are. Sure, the size of the game's world is also responsible for one of its biggest issues, that being bloat, which just goes to show that the size of a map in games isn't nearly as important as how well they make use of the space that they have. Days Gone. Days Gone might not have been the knockout punch from a critical reception perspective that nearly all Sony first-party games have been over the last few years, but it's still a game that's got a lot going for it. Its open world is massive and driven by various systems and wrought with countless deadly dangers. It's constantly a joy to explore, while Deacon's bike also makes the act of traversing it a hell of a lot of fun. Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Iceborne's packed with content, from various new monsters and quests to multiple new areas to explore, to the point where Capcom could have just gone ahead and sold it as a separate new title in the series. Hallfrost Reach, where Iceborne takes place, is a sizable new addition to Monster Hunter World's map, and exploring its wintry locations is a blast. It goes above and beyond what one would usually expect from an expansion in every possible way. Generation Zero. Generation Zero kind of flew under the radar when it launched earlier this year, and was on the end of a mixed reception at best, thanks to its lack of polish and repetitive gameplay. But in true Avalanche fashion, it delivered a large open world for players to mess about in. Its post-apocalyptic alternate reality setting of Sweden, crawling with dangerous killer robots, was an enjoyable sandbox, and though it was by no means perfect, things such as the dynamic weather and its beautiful visuals made for a fun playing field. Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3 is a game that we'd been looking forward to for over a decade, and as the conclusion to a long-running and convoluted saga, there was a lot riding on it. Square Enix managed to deliver on those expectations, and in the process they took us to a wide variety of iconic Disney worlds, from Frozen and Toy Story to Tangled, Monsters Inc., and many, many more. Not only were these worlds all pretty large and a joy to explore, they also looked absolutely stunning. Metro Exodus. 4A Games' Metro series left the claustrophobia of the Russian metro with the series' third installment this year, and the result was a resounding success. In spite of becoming much more open-ended and larger, Metro Exodus did not lose the tension that had defined its predecessor, while its large environments themselves were also a treat. Thanks to organic exploration, great visual variety, and excellent art design, Metro Exodus was able to portray the post-nuclear remains of Russia in beautiful light. Gears 5. We never would have thought to utter open world and Gears in the same sentence, but the Coalition made it possible with Gears 5. And though many were skeptical of how it would turn out, it proved to be a solid foundation for the future. The icy expanses and large red desert in the two middle chapters of the game were large areas ripe for exploration, and though we're hoping that such sections will be more lively and more densely packed in Gears 6, there's no denying that using the skiff to traverse a map and track down fun, bite-sized side missions was a lot of fun. Death Stranding. Hideo Kojima's first game since his departure from Konami must have been one of the most highly anticipated games of the decade, and though it's not a game for everyone, its accomplishments in certain areas simply cannot be overlooked. The post-apocalyptic remains of America in Death Stranding are vast, desolate, and hauntingly beautiful, and perfectly designed for the game's traversal-heavy gameplay. You wouldn't think that walking from point A to point B to deliver things could ever be fun, but thanks to a striking world and mechanically deep traversal, that is exactly the case in Death Stranding. Outer Wilds. Genius is the word that most appropriately describes Outer Wilds. It's a captivating mystery that unfolds in a manner that keeps you hooked from the beginning to the end, and the game's massive environment, from the planet you start out on to the solar system surrounding it, have a huge hand in that. Exploring the system bit by bit and coming to learn its secrets and mysteries through multiple 22-minute cycles is an experience like no other. And Outer Wilds deserves all the credit in the world for managing to execute its ingenious premise with such brilliance. The Outer Worlds. It might not be an open-world game, and as far as RPGs in the modern age go, it's actually a pretty compact experience. You do visit multiple locations though, and more often than not, they present the player with some pretty large and open areas to explore. Rage 2. Rage 2 has some of the best, more adrenaline-fueled combat you'll find in a first-person shooter, but it's also unfortunately got a pretty dull and uninteresting open world. Though it is dull and uninteresting, it's also, in true Avalanche fashion, also massive. Rage 2's post-apocalyptic world is full of life, vibrancy, and colour, and even though exploring these environments isn't too much fun, they're at least nice to look at. The Surge 2. The Surge 2 moved away from the industry confines of the Creo headquarters and out into the much more open-ended environments of Jericho City. And though the city itself isn't absolutely massive, it's still a decently sized location. Add to that its looping, interconnected design, its impressive environmental variety, and the fact that it's densely packed with interesting activities, and exploring it and unlocking its secrets becomes a joyous exercise. Code Vein. Much like The Surge 2, and true to the Souls-like genre, Code Vein presents players with smaller, densely packed maps rather than a vast open field, with the areas looping in on each other to create shortcuts and new pathways. Exploring these post-apocalyptic locations, propped up by the game's art design, is a ton of fun, and unlocking new secrets and progressing through the map feels rewarding and satisfying. Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 is the first game in the series to not be set solely on the planet of Pandora, allowing players to travel to and explore various planets, and it's a change that works out very well. Most of the locations we visit in the game are expansive, with tons of quests and side quests to track down and tackle, while Gearbox have also leveraged this to really show off variety in environments and art design in a few standout cases. Put together, all of the areas in Borderlands 3 make for a lot of room for looting, shooting shenanigans. Need for Speed Heat. Need for Speed Heat's open world suffers from the issues that open worlds in racing games usually have to contend with, and though there's plenty of activities to engage in Palm City, they start getting repetitive a few hours in. That said, the map itself is designed very well, boasting of the perfect size and a lot of visual variety. Driving around the city at night is a treat, and watching the neon-drenched streets zip by as you race through at breakneck speeds is a visual delight. Ancestors: The Humankind Odyssey. Ancestors: The Humankind Odyssey hasn't exactly had the best reception from critics and players, and the game has attracted plenty of well-deserved criticism for its obtuse mechanics and tedious gameplay. But the one area where the game deserves unreserved praise is its vast open-world environments, especially as you progress into the latter hours of the experience. Moving from location to location as you contend with hazards in the wilds and track the evolution of your clan is made a much more rewarding experience thanks to the constantly fascinating environments that act as the backdrop for all of your activities. And that wraps it up. If you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing to our channel. We upload new videos daily, so make sure you don't miss them by subscribing. We appreciate your support, and we thank you for checking us out.